Hello, I'm Dan Williams, the Media Relations Director for the City of Cleveland, and this is the Bottom Line Up Front. In this edition of Bluff, I will discuss what daylight savings time and smoke detectors have in common. First, a little bit of history about daylight savings time, or DST as it's known. In the U.S., daylight savings time, or fast time as it was called then, was first introduced in 1918 when President Woodrow Wilson signed into law to support the war effort during World War I. The initiative was sparked by Robert Garland, a Pittsburgh industrialist who had encountered the idea in the United Kingdom. A passionate campaigner for the use of DST in the United States, he is often called the father of daylight saving. The seasonal time change was repealed just 7 months later. However, some cities, including Pittsburgh, Boston, and New York, continued to use it until President Franklin D. Roosevelt instituted year-round DST in the United States in 1942. In fact, during World War II, 40 days following the attack on Pearl Harbor, the time zones changed names. They were called Eastern Wartime, Central Wartime, and Pacific Wartime. But after the surrender of Japan in mid-August 1945, the time zones were relabeled peacetime, and DST schedule in the U.S. was revised several times throughout the years. From 1987 to 2006, the country observed daylight savings time for about 7 months each year. The current schedule was introduced in 2007 and follows the Energy Policy Act of 2005, which extended the period by about a month. Today, daylight savings time starts on the second Sunday in March and ends on the first Sunday in November. Currently, most of the United States observes daylight saving time except for Hawaii and most of Arizona, as well as the United States insular areas of Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, American Samoa, and Guam. Today, in the fall season of time change, many across the country have used this as a good time to remind people to not only change their clocks, but also to take a huge safety measure to change the batteries in their smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. We're doing that again this spring. To that end, here in Cleveland, the Cleveland Division of Fire will sound an alarm to local residents to make this potentially life-saving change. On Saturday, March 13, 2016, at 6:05 p.m., emergency sirens will sound for 1 minute in unison to urge residents to change their smoke alarm batteries and their carbon monoxide batteries when they change their clocks for daylight saving time. The Change Your Clock, Change Your Battery campaign is a national home fire safety program sponsored by the National Fire Protection Association and endorsed locally by the Cleveland Division of Fire and the American Red Cross. Working smoke alarms cut the risk of injuries and fatalities related to residential fires in half, according to the NFPA, by providing an early warning signal, creating extra seconds to escape. Although smoke alarms are in a large percentage of the Cleveland homes, nearly 1/3 do not work because of worn or missing batteries. In addition to urging residents to change smoke alarm batteries, the Cleveland Division of Fire Public Education Office recommends that every resident take a few minutes for additional fire safety measures. This includes checking the smoke alarms, practicing an emergency escape route, no two ways out of each room, and designating a common meeting place once outside of the home. Local fire stations will have a limited supply of batteries available, about 2 per resident. The bottom line, daylight savings time was introduced to the United States in 1918 by President Woodrow Wilson to support the war effort during World War I. Daylight saving time was reintroduced to the United States 40 days following the attack on Pearl Harbor, and the time zones were called Eastern Wartime, Central Wartime, and Pacific Wartime. Today, daylight saving time starts on the second Sunday in March and ends on the first Sunday in November. On Saturday, March 13, 2016, at 6:05 p.m., emergency sirens will sound, urging residents to change their smoke and carbon monoxide alarm batteries when they change their clocks for daylight saving time. The Cleveland Division of Fire's Public Education Office recommends that every resident take a few minutes for additional fire safety measures like practicing an emergency escape route and designating a common meeting place outside their home. And last, local fire stations will have a limited supply of batteries that residents may pick up for the smoke detectors on the first-come, first-served basis. And if you need and cannot afford to buy a smoke detector, you may call the number on your screen now and apply for one. I'm Dan Williams, and this has been The Bottom Line Up Front.